In this one, we're going to be using generic foreign keys to create our own comments app. Now, if you wanted to stick with the Facebook comments plugin, you absolutely could. There's really nothing wrong with that in particular, but for us, what we want to do is actually monitor and track the comments that are made by our users, not necessarily general users that are on Facebook, right? And we want to avoid that from happening. And also, like if we have a blog, it would be in our interest to make sure our users are authenticated with us prior to actually writing posts or anything like that. That way, again, we can track our users and hopefully make better things for them. Now, again, that being said, the Facebook comments plugin or any other kind of plugin that uses for comments, there's nothing wrong with it, especially if you want to get it done, because done is better than perfect. Now, adding our own comment solution has its drawbacks too, and you'll see what those are as we develop this, but at least we will discover some more concepts that you may have not worked with in the past. And if you have, hopefully it'll clear up some issues that you may have had with them. So basically, we are going to be making a comments app. And the first thing that we're going to do is just have the ability for users or any particular authenticated user to actually just write some stuff on here inside of the actual blog itself or the blog post itself. So let's go ahead and jump into our models first. And we're talking about generic foreign keys here. Now, in our post model, if you remember, we actually used a standard foreign key. So this foreign key is actually associated to a model, and that model has a class and an instance. So it's not associated just to the model itself, but it also has an association to a specific class that is a specific user. It's associated to a specific instance, which in this case is a specific user. So if we go into the admin and look at this, we go to posts, and we click on any of our posts, we see the users that are possibly associated. So each user has its own ID, and each user is associated to the user class. So what we want to do is actually allow us to associate any class or any model that is, and then any object ID. And that's what we're doing with generic foreign keys. This is not going to make sense until we actually do it. So if you also look at the documentation, this will talk about this stuff quite a bit. But we want to do it on our own, and we're going to do it in our own new app called Comments. If you remember back to Try Django 1.9, we talked about that apps themselves should function very well by themselves. So posts should be its own app. Comments should be its own app. And then you would even have something for accounts that should be its own app. And you can build all these kinds of apps on top of this, but comments in themselves can be used throughout your site. They don't have to just be on your blog. And that's exactly why we're using generic foreign keys. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We're going to do it a couple ways. The first way we're going to do it is with a standard foreign key. And then the second way we're going to do it is with the generic foreign key, just so you can get used to the difference between the two. Let's go ahead and close out our server, and we're going to start a new app. And it's going to be called Comments. And then we'll go ahead and just leave it just like that. And inside of Comments, we see that we now have all the things that are related to starting a new app. We're going to open up models, and I'm going to say class comment, and it's going to be models.model. And we're going to do a few things here. First of all, we're going to say user, and then we're going to say the actual comment or where it was commented on. So initially, we're going to use a foreign key. So I'm going to say post, because post is where we'll be commenting it initially. And then we'll just add the comment text, or I'll just say content. So some sort of content that's being written, and then a timestamp for when it was actually done. And that's it. That's all we'll leave it for now. And that's all we'll really cover in this one. We're just really covering generic foreign keys here. So the user model itself, we want that same sort of foreign key that we did with the posts. So if we go into post models, we can actually scroll down. I'm going to double click to open this up. We can scroll down. We're going to use this exact same one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and come back into our our comment models and paste this in here. And I'm just tabbing these things for spacing and just making it look better. Now we want to make sure that we import the settings module. Of course, you can get it from models.py inside of posts, but we're going to do just from django.conf import settings. This is something you'll probably end up memorizing just because you use it so often. So we've got a user here, And now we can do the exact same thing with a foreign key to our post. So we can import the post model. So from post.models, import post, and that's going to be a capital P post, just like the model class itself. And we're going to go ahead and set the post equals to models.foreign-key and post. I'm not going to add a default. Content, we'll do models.text field. And I also don't want this to be blank or null, because if they're leaving a comment, all of those things should be there. And then finally, models.date time field, and we'll say auto now add, that is auto added to the database is true. And then we're going to define our Unicode or string if you're on Python 3, which we'll do in a second. So return, I'm going to do the string of self.user.username. And we're going to copy this exact same thing. You Python 2 users can do this too. There's nothing wrong with having support for both 2 and 3. So we just type out str here. Okay, cool. So now that's our comment model. We've now created it and it's pretty much ready to go. So what generic foreign keys do is he's going to change this into being a generic item instead of being a post item, which we still have to do, but I'm going to go ahead and add this into our database so we can see what it looks like if we went this route first. So let's go ahead and go into blog, into settings, and then installed apps. Above posts, we're going to do comments, just keeping alphabetical order here. And then we're going to go ahead and do make migrations because we made changes to models and we added it into installed apps. And then finally, we are going to go ahead and migrate this. And then we'll run the server. All right, click on. Now what we want to do is go into our admin for comments. And we'll do from.models, import comment. And then admin.site.register comment. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and jump into our admin area, and we should see comments now. We do. If I add a new comment in here, I see that I can pick a user. So notice that this is related to any given user. Posts, I can pick a post, right? So any of these posts I can actually make a quote unquote comment on in the admin. So let's go ahead and get that first one. I'll say title. I'll say hi there, exclamation mark. We're gonna hit save. Boom, that's done. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and jump in to that particular template for that comment. So if we go into the detail view here, I'm going to right underneath that Facebook like, or actually underneath the comment or the markdown stuff itself, instead of Facebook comments down here, right above it, I'm going to do a div of its own, and we're going to do instance.comment.set.all. I'll explain that in a second, but we've got instance.comment.set.all. Let's go ahead and go back into our project, into posts, click on title, and we see that there was a comment made. Of course, in the other ones, it's going to give us an empty dictionary, but we technically made a comment there. So this is actually allowing us to associate that there, which is great because it's actually making it a little bit easier on us as far as that association is concerned. But if we wanted to make a comment on a different page that wasn't a post, how would we go about doing that? That's the real question here, and that's what we have to solve. So in the next one, we're actually going to pick up more from this generic foreign key stuff because really we needed to set up the model before we could really get into it. So in the next one, we're going to get into it to show you how we convert this into the exact same result, but using generic foreign keys. All right, if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.